now the discovery of explosives, bombs, and other materials. That has been as a result of the police public cooperation. They give that information. But maybe incidentally, maybe you might have gone to a police station one day and you are not served very well, and you left there a bitter person. You know, that bitterness will always be with you, and you will see no good coming from the police. But let me assure you, Bwana Makali and Mr. Makazi here, the police of today are not the police of yesteryears. The police now are more proactive, more responsive, and more effective. Remember, nobody would want to be tagged as incompetent or ineffective, because I'll have no business putting on this uniform if I know at the end of the day I'm not adding value to the society. So the police have changed, and we must also appreciate that the public are also continuously giving us information which we keep on working on. Where the public feel that they have not been served well, again we also have mechanisms and avenues of redress, and we always welcome people to bring us, or rather to bring to us, those aspects where they feel that our officers have underperformed. We are always to correct that.
Perhaps just to go back to the comments that have been read there by Kirigo.
Yes.
Two people have actually said, in fact one said, it's not that the rate of crime has gone down. It's actually the rate of reporting crime. And why? Because of mistrust. And also another person who said also there is dissatisfaction when it comes to police addressing the problems reported. What is the police doing to increase or enhance public trust and public satisfaction?
A number of things are being undertaken. We may all be aware that we are currently undertaking a number of reforms under the police reforms program. We have got issues of image reinvention. We are actually trying to work very, very hard on reinventing the image of the police officer, so that any member of the public who sees a police officer sees not only a police officer, but he sees a colleague, he sees a helper, he sees a fellow citizen. That gap that you are seated on the other side and I'm seated on this other side should not be there. And I think people may have, and they are entitled to their opinion. I know some people may feel shortchanged by the performance of the police, but increasingly things are changing. The reforms are aimed at ensuring that service delivery gets to the very low level of our country. And in fact, in the era of reforms now, we are saying that the service point is that point where you meet a police officer. It does not have to be the police station. So let us begin gauging the police performance with the way we interact with them on the streets, or in the streets, in the stations and other areas of contact. Because remember, these officers are not just meant to serve you at the police station. In fact, at the police station, maybe very limited activity may be going on, which mostly may be administrative. But actually the work is on the streets, on the beat, on the patrol, and that is where the actual work is performed. Do the people who meet or encounter police officers get served well, or do they have reservations on the performance of the police? So gradually and increasingly, we are telling the public that engage us more, because that is our work. Test us. Come to us and feel that whether we are ready to deliver or not. And believe you me, Bwana Makazi, there are people who will forever feel indebted to the police because of the way they have been helped. They have been taken out of tight corners and life-threatening situations because of the police. Maybe people are not saying this, but I'm sure there are myriads of people who know that they owe a lot to the police service.
Perhaps you could help us guide the debate, a positive debate towards patriotism, because so far other people are feeling, you know what, you're now getting a dose of your own medicine. There are people who are quick to poke holes.
Yes.
Well, we agree there are already holes in the police service,
yes.
But perhaps you could help us. How do we guide the debate so that any time Kenyans are talking about insecurity,
yes.
It's about salvaging the interests of this country. It's about making sure that Kenya stands out in the international community as a strong and unified country. Guide us through that.
Thank you, Bwana Makazi. We must understand that the country called Kenya does not belong to the police. The country called Kenya belongs to each and every Kenyan within our borders and even outside our territorial borders. And for that matter, therefore, we are duty-bound. We have an obligation to protect our country. It is unfortunate if you will happen to know or have information about an incident and say that is the business of the police. That is the work of the police. But remember, the police is not everywhere. We don't have eyes and presence everywhere. That's why we always have our clarion call, work with us, so that we are able to effectively serve our country and secure our country. But many of us, unfortunately, keep on saying, well, the police are sleeping. Let them be hit. And they will be hit more because they're not working. It is sad. I know not everybody says that or ascribes to that, but if we argument our level of patriotism, we feel that we all are duty-bound by the need to protect and develop our country, then I'm sure our country will be more safe. How many of us, for example, have seen incidents of crime being planned or perpetrated and we have not reported? How many of us have in a way abetted, either directly or indirectly, the commission of crime? We are bystanders in crime. We are silent collaborators with criminals. The fact that I'm able to see a criminal and I don't report. I know. Remember, we always say that crime is predominantly local in nature. What does that mean? It means that crime begins at the very local level, where each and everyone stays. If I'm able to identify a criminal person, because that terrorist we are talking about, that hardcore criminal, started as a very innocent person, and we all saw him grow up, and gradually transforming from a petty criminal to a regular criminal to a hardcore criminal, eventually maybe to a terrorist. Did we raise a finger? Maybe some of us say, well, he's my neighbor. Well, this is Mr. Makali's son. I know him. I will not be doing justice to Mr. Makali if I expose him. But eventually, let us look at the bigger picture. What is at stake when we keep quiet or remain silent when we know things are going wrong in our country? So we all have a civic duty, our constitutional duty to protect our country. That is why we say in the RRI, right now, which we are taking on towards 60 days, that the tagline for RRI is Usalama ni jukumu langu. Security is my responsibility, not somebody else's responsibility. Remember, we are the first defense in security. The public is the first line of defense before we even go to anybody. Who is the public? You and I. If I'm able to be aware of my environment, if I'm able to be aware of my surrounding, it means I'll be able to understand what is happening. Let us look at another aspect. For example, we have so many people hiring domestic workers, house helps, and so on and so forth. And this is another avenue where now it is being exploited and manipulated by would-be criminals to perpetrate their crimes. How many of us have taken the trouble of employing Bwana Makazi here? And I know, Mr. Makazi, where do you come from? I come from Nairobi. Where? Around Royal Media House. Let me see your documents. Because even if that person is a gardener, employ him as if you are employing a manager in a very big institution. Get his contact, his home address, next of kin, so that if this person happens to do anything wrong, you are able to follow through to where this person came from. This person also will be very careful because he knows if all my details have been picked by my employer, it means my employer is suspicious or is sensitive to his security. The propensity for that person to commit a crime will be drastically minimized. But if I know I can take somebody because either I don't want to pay him very well, or maybe he's underage, or he's of suspicious origin, so I don't even bother about where he comes from because I know I'll pay him lowly, that person also happily obliges because he or she has an agenda. What are we doing?
Right. But Makali, of course, it is very clear when somebody sits down at home and watches terrorist activities happening in other places, it looks as though it's a very foreign thing. But when it happens live at their very place, then the debate totally changes. Perhaps let's get practical. I go to town, I see something that is absolutely unfamiliar, and I perceive its danger to other people.
Yes.
What should be my first reaction?
Your first reaction as a good citizen, one, is to be very, very observant so that I'm able to know, or you are able to know, This is a cap. It's a white cap. It has a logo. Because now, if, for example, we are talking about evidentiary material, I should be able, for example, to help the police by telling them, I've seen something at this location. This thing looks, and you are able to particularly describe that thing. And then notify others. Because for one, if I come here and leave this document, and I pretend to forget it and leave away, before you even think of picking that, I should be able to raise the alarm and tell you, sorry, Mr. Makazi, your package, you have left your package behind. That is one. So that that person, if he was genuine, he picks it up. If he's not genuine, he can bolt and go away, and very quickly now, that is where you raise the alarm. But as you again said, what should you do? Get particular information about that suspicious package or item, and then the location, and then notify the people in the immediate vicinity, but also notify the police. Because if it's a supermarket, for example, the management should be able to know. I'm sure very many institutions nowadays have got their own security mechanisms, and they should be the first responders to that. Either secure the area, evacuate the area, and then send in for help. That way, you are able to save lives, but also the description of that person and the package is important. Because if eventually we'll have to follow through, we should be able to know who is this person. And that's why we are saying the public should always be very, very vigilant. We hardly want to know who is sitting next to, even in a matatu. You come into a public service vehicle and everybody is busy on their own things. But remember, nowadays, we need to change the way we do things. In fact, we should go into a matatu and say, good morning, good morning. That way, you are able to see Mr. Makari's face, how he's dressed, Mr. Makazi's face, how he's dressed, so that if something happens, you are able to say, I was sitting next to a gentleman in a blue tie and a white shirt. And these were his features. He was carrying a book, but when he left the matatu, he left the book on the seat. It was so quick that I was not even able to ask for any, but this is what happened. Those are some of the elementary and basic aspects of security consciousness that should be ingrained in each and every member of the public.
There's a persistent request for a hotline number. I don't know whether they've been sorted out. Perhaps you could give us one or two.
The police numbers, 999 is now fully operational. There is also 112. 24 hours.
912?
No, 112.
112
yes.
And 999.
Yes. This office of operations, police operations, is again headquartered at Jogo House. That area was formally commissioned by the head of state, and these numbers are now active at any given time. You are now just a phone call away from getting help and assistance and reporting an incident. It should be so easy. So people should not be worried. But we are also...
But the question that, of course, following that number,
yes,
you'll always get the feedback. People report or call the police and report. But the response either doesn't come quickly or sometimes none at all. That is still a problem. Is it capacity? You are overwhelmed by the demand for police service?
Capacity. But the other day, somebody again said that he had called a certain commander, and his phone was totally busy, and even after getting him, he wasn't able to get help. But let us look at our numbers, the police numbers. Let us look at the police presence. The moment you are calling me, maybe I'm also responding to another incident.
Yes.
And I cannot abandon what I'm doing, irrespective of how the other is dire. Because for people to call for help, they really need that help. So when you are calling me, I'm responding to another incident. Maybe my deputy or my colleague is responding elsewhere. Eventually, I get back to you, because eventually the commanders normally call back. Those are the instructions. When you are called, always ensure that after you are through with your business, call back to know what that good citizen wanted. So by the time I get back to you, you're telling me, you are late. Now my house has been burned down, I've been mugged, I've been robbed. Where were you? You know, we should also understand that the police are not serving one person.
That is what makes the police, I mean the public, get disgruntled with the police service, because they don't respond in time. Obviously, as you say,
yes,
because of those challenges. I think it would be useful to begin an admission by the police for more of its deficiency, and ask for more support, whether it's financial, so that you can back up your capacity, or personnel, so that you can deploy sufficiently to cover the country. which the police are very shy from saying.
Almost 5 years ago.
Why aren't you making these demands so the public can actually agitate so that the police can be covered, because security is really paramount?
Almost 5 years ago, the government sanctioned double intake entry into the policing institutions. Yeah. And that is where we started seeing large numbers of recruits being brought on board. That is one of the aspects which we are employing to ensure that we bridge the gap where we are talking about numbers, inadequacy of numbers. Even as we move towards graduation tomorrow, that big number will be graduating, an equally big number will be brought on board to ensure that we gradually move towards ensuring that we meet even the UN standards of 1 to 450. It's not easy, but remember, apart from the numbers also, we are also looking at the logistical capacity of the officers in terms of mobility. And again, we saw the other day, His Excellency commissioned quite a big number of vehicles to ensure that the officers are able to move rapidly and quickly and respond to incidents. All these and more are measures by the government. The government is very much alive of the fact that people need security. But remember, it is a situation which has been there for a long time, and we will not be able to address it overnight. It's a process. Even as we say, reforms is a process. Many of these ills which have bedeviled the police service, there's passion to address them, but it will take time, and we must accept that.
How has the installation of technology within the urban areas, especially Nairobi, helped? CCTVs and all that. Has it helped in combating crime?
It is gradually being appreciated. Because
is it in fact working? Because people say, I mean, these blinking things on the road.
It is working. You know, we cannot just put things like what we call scarecrows.
Exactly.
There's a lot of investment on the part of the government, and it is aimed to curb crime and insecurity, and also preempt, not only curb, but also deter would-be offenders. It is gradually moving to a level where people know that I'm being watched. Every time I commit an offense, every time I'm out of turn, I'm being watched. And there's a penalty for all these aspects of crime. So this technology is working. And our now desire is to ensure that we totally domesticate it in a way that at every turn we have that. But coupled with that, because it may be for start to be put in the main public areas. But remember, there was also a call for all investors and industry holders of various areas and establishments to also invest in this technology. Because that way, I'm able to know who came to RMS, at what time, how did he come in, and how did he leave. And then we network this. So that at any given time, I'm able now, from the office I'm operating from, be able to make surveillance of our entire country. And this is also maybe as part of the long-term plan, is also to ensure that the same sophistication goes all the way to the borders. Remember, we also have issues with our borders. And the borderline is also being targeted for scrutiny, so that somebody coming in maliciously, somebody leaving out with no good intention is also able to be caught.
People people are in fact saying, you know, right away that they're calling that 999, it's not working, 112, it's not working, you know, I mean...
no, the numbers are working.
I hope, but they've just called, and this is feedback coming in right there. Well, those, you can go find out, or write that if it's not working, because it's really core. But the biggest challenge to insecurity has been identified to be corruption. Even here, a lot of people are saying, look, in Ngong, people are being arrested randomly, taken to police. Innocent people, you have to bribe to get out. That the police methods of investigation are, you know, fraught with corruption, and that's why fighting crime is not succeeding. What significant measures are being taken to root out corruption within the police force?
Corruption...
Well, this has become a song, I mean...
It's an ill which everybody is uncomfortable with, and we do not condone corruption. The IG has particularly taken deliberate measures to deal with the corruption. There are a number of institutions, both internal and external. We have the Internal Affairs Unit. It is within the police service, which investigates incidents of crime and other ills perpetrated by the police officers. Our members of the public are free also to engage. If
somebody goes to a police station and, you know, as happens often, somebody is there, you are held wrongly on mistaken identity, As part of the police operation, that must be accepted. But due process should follow so that the innocent ones are acquitted or released quickly. It happens normally that a lot of people will be held there and people will get the freedom after giving out something.
Not really, Mr.
What should they do in a police station? Let's look at the practical solution there.
The other day, when we had an incident in Italy, and people were complaining that there was a large soup where people were caught. Remember, when a security operation is conducted, definitely people will be caught. But after processing, there were people who were established to be students, and they were released.
Yeah.
There were people who were established to have been genuinely in business, either coming from work or going home after work and so on and so forth. They were also released. But there were people who were found to be aliens or immigrants without papers. They were charged lawfully. Remember, when something happens like that, the duty of the police is to put under custody anybody who is not able to explain his or her business at the time of arrest. If I catch you at midnight, and to me you appear to be uncoordinated or unstable or suspicious.
Uncoordinated.
Yes.
That is a new one. You can be arrested for looking uncoordinated.
Yes. I'll have to bring you in.
Yes.
But if you explain yourself and tell me that, well,
I was just going home from having a drink.
Of course, I've no business to
yes.
hold you, because I know you are building the nation. So people should understand, when you're arrested, explain clearly to the police officer, I'm coming from this or that place. Maybe you are drunk, and drinking is not an offense in Kenya. But being drunk and disorderly amounts to an offense.
An offense,
Yes. So there are certain aspects of the law which people need to be aware of.
No, the thing is, I know this is, you know, Masuod, this is a complex issue. The matter of corruption with the police force is big. The question is, somebody who is confronted with that situation at a police station, what should they do? Because people are either criminals, suspected criminals, actually people who are perhaps who should be netted, get out because of bribery. People who are innocent, because of desperation, will bribe to get freedom because you stay there for 2 days.
Now, there are two people there. There are people who are...
What is the recourse?
There are two people there, Bwana Makali. One, somebody who is innocent and
just needs his freedom, but he won't get it.
But you should insist that I'm innocent. The police should be able to prove a case against you, and you should be able to prove your innocence, and you go away. Because I'm sure, even if you're taken before any judge, or magistrate, and you're able to explain yourself, I was arrested, but I think it was a case of mistaken identity. I was coming from work. You explain yourself, you'll be set free. If you're not, you'll have to justify then why action cannot be taken. But again, you know, the police cannot just trump up charges on you until you are in. The people who are normally guilty and they bribe their way out, now this is a double-edged sword. And we know we have had complaints like that in the past, that the police sometimes set free criminals. If it is indeed true, some of these officers have been acted on. A number of them have been sent home, and we always see that. Remember what we said earlier, some of the good things which the police do to protect the institution do not come to light. Many people are being sacked, they are either being demoted, they are being suspended because of professional malpractice. Some of these elements do not come out to the public. So they feel that the police are just corrupt and they're protecting their own, not the least. Actually, we are keen, because we said earlier, we don't want to be branded an incompetent, corrupt, incorrigible police service. We want to be a world-class police service. And we want to be a police service where other countries can even come and benchmark with our own. And that is where we're heading now, Bwana Makali.
I must thank you. We have to come to a conclusion. Before we conclude, I must say that there's a report coming in now that they just called 112 and it's promptly working.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So you have been rescued.
Thank you. In fact, I was going there after here right away.
No, I think some people can, of course.
Sometimes the lines are busy again. We must also remember we receive over 10,000 calls.
And that is somebody calling from Mildred, John Kitui, says he just called and it works. So, I mean, I think the truth is that you're working, but still the demand for your services far exceeds your services. And we need to work on just how to achieve that rational spread between your service and the demand. Well, I think we have to end. I want to thank you for coming, or representing the Inspector General, for graciously accepting that you attend this in our security discussions. Thank Makazi also for being part of this panel. Power Breakfast continues, so stay with us.